Pete Najarian and I are going to break down for you exactly what's going on with this crazy market that just keeps setting record after record after record. And here's a hint, technology. We'll cover that on today's Rebel's Edge. Yeah, it seems no matter where I go, Pete, in my house, there's construction going on. Outside on the balcony, there's construction going on. Just below me, they're doing a big new install for one of the things you always need here in Puerto Rico, folks, a generator. And we have a huge one for this building because it's a 17-story building. So we've got a huge generator down there, and they're just putting the finishing touches on building the box around it to protect it from the elements. But can't find a spot to go, Pete. If there's a library, I'd go. Yeah. Well, let's dive into macro. And I'm just going to jump on, Pete, the idea that copper up. And you know why they call it copper has a PhD, right, Pete?
I get so tired of this damn thing. Why is that?
I mean, it's an economic professor. It's yeah, PhD. Anyway, yeah, but copper is, if they're coming for copper, it's usually a pretty good sign of the economies. And silver's up almost 6%. Oil was only up about 1.5% so far today, Pete. But oil going up is not what we want. Those metals going up, not so bad. Not saying they're significant drivers, but oil, that's the one we always keep our eye on, along with what Pete's going to tell us about VIX.
Yeah, well, you know, John, I think when you look at this whole thing and you see that the president decides to reject this proposal, right? I mean, he was in there and he's like, hey, look, not going to happen. And so what happens? That means crude oil starts to pop up. Copper, you know, you had mentioned that, but crude oil directly with what the president's doing. And it's not that he is wanting the oil to pop up, but certainly he wants to get this thing settled and get it settled the right way. And then that's why we're still working on this thing. As far as the volatility index, John, we are basically just flatlining near 18. I mean, we've actually gotten just below it, but not by a whole heck of a lot. And we've basically been somewhere in like a 20 or 30 cent range for the VIX right now. Let's call it between 1790 and 1830 or something like that. It's very, very tight. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, it makes a little bit of sense. You can see how volatile it has been over this period of time. And I think it's something that just be aware of that. And the fact that anything, you know, pretty south of 20, which is where we are, I think that speaks volumes about what people think about the markets right now. And that's why we've been seeing them fly the way they have to the upside.
Well, I thought you'd like this one for prediction markets today, Pete, because your timber puppies playing the Spurs, and by the way, fighting the Spurs, I noticed.
That was a dirty play. That was a dirty play.
The elbow? Oh, man.
He swung that big, and he's 7 foot, what, 4?
Yeah.
And he swung the elbow, John, very intentional. And I know that, you know, if it's a player that you like from your team or whatever, you'd say, well, you know, they already penalized him for that game or whatever and thrown him out for that game. You almost wonder if it could go even further than that. I don't think it will at all. That's not where I'm going. But that was a pretty violent elbow that he was throwing to Naz Reid. And Naz Reid's a big, strong son of a gun, John. But a big elbow like that's not going to feel too swift if we would have caught him just the right way. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, over-under is 5.5 games. So in other words, they're not thinking this thing goes 3-3 because you'd lose. If you took the under, took the over, of course, you'd win. But they're thinking this thing gets decided faster than that, Pete. So just thought you'd like that in the poly market world.
Yeah.
Let's dive into. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that the Timberwolves, John, really showed how strong they really are. And now, obviously, their best player for San Antonio was out, but in the fourth quarter, we outscored them by a pretty substantial amount, John. And Ant with 36 points and 16 points in the fourth quarter, I would say that he was on his game and balling. And so I think in some ways, maybe that gives them a little bit more confidence probably than they had before the game of what they could potentially do, even when he comes back. So I think it's going to be a pretty good series. I hope it is. I think it would be a lot of fun to see this game go to a game 7 or something would be great.
Yep. But that's not what the bets are saying right now, but bets might not be right.
Right.
Yeah, I'd love to see the Timberwolves take that one. All right. Let's talk, Pete, about Moderna. Now, we all know that Moderna, symbol mRNA, which implies strongly part of what they do is mRNA-based vaccines. And because of this damn hantavirus, Pete, and, this is almost as I guess, headline grabbing, but also sort of stupid as the Ebola. Because remember when the people were on the ship with Ebola? And everybody said, don't let them dock. Don't let them dock. Well, the hantavirus is about the same as Ebola in terms of how you die if you get it.
Yeah.
But it's not airborne. Anyway, we'll keep an eye on it. But I thought you'd like this, Pete, because did we have unusual activity in it? You bet we did. I mean, Moderna made a nice move. And it was predicted by this. Look at that, the 7th of May. So last week, here we are, the 11th. So the 7th, Pete, would have been Thursday last week. Somebody comes in and buys 18,500 of the July 50 calls. Well, here it is. Stock's 58 plus today. In other words, it's up $10 from when they came in with that. And that was only 2 sessions ago, Pete. So do you think Pelosi or Mitch McConnell or somebody got a heads up about this, or do you think it's an insider at Moderna?
I think you're right on your first guess. And the reason I say that, John, is who are they working with? Who's Moderna working with? They're working with the Army. They're working also with the Korean University and blah, blah, blah. So they knew exactly what was going on and what's going into this whole thing. So, again, it seems like the politicians might be winning.
Yeah.
At least with their own pocketbooks. Moderna is a stock, John, that has a pretty substantial shorts, somewhere between 14 and 18%. So when this thing starts to run, when you see those upside calls flying the way they are, like you were just talking about, there's a really good reason for that, John. I mean, when you've got those shorts and you start to twist them a little bit and they start feeling very uncomfortable, that stock starts to fly to the upside. I see right now that we had a 52-week or very close to a 52-week high over 59. Now, that might have happened in the pre-market, but nonetheless, a really amazing thing. By the way, Moderna still has one of the better balance sheets out there in that space or whatever. So, yeah, this is a heck of a move. It's not a bad way to start off your May, right? I mean, this is pretty incredible. But Moderna certainly, along with the others, they're going to find out something very, very quickly and try to get something out there. How fast can they do that? It does take a little bit of time, but it should be pretty interesting. These vaccines should take a little bit of time because you don't want anything really bad to come out of these things either, on top of what somebody else has already got. So it does take a little bit of time to get this thing figured out.
Well, Monday.com, Pete, it might take us all show long to get this one figured out because the stock was up over 25% in the pre-market. And then it falls back to about a 10% gain. Right now, it's struggling to hold on to a 4% gain, 4%. First quarter results, yeah, a lot better than the street was looking for. Software solutions providers saw first quarter revenue soar 24%. And I could totally justify the stock going up over 20% on that, Pete. But then tragedy struck and the stock pulled almost all the way back. It was 72 last Friday. It opened at 85 today, and pretty much that was the high of the day, Pete.
I don't understand it either, John. I mean, there's something in there that I guess you're missing, I'm missing, or whatever. But I mean, one of the things that we always talk about is, hey, you can have great earnings, you can do this, you can do that, but it's all about the next thing, right? I mean, what's the next thing? What's the outlook look like? Well, the outlook for these guys, they raised their full year revenue outlook, so that's pretty impressive. The Q1 revenue was up 24%. That's pretty damn impressive. Their earnings was up like 4.5% year over year. That's not so bad. I don't know how impressive, but nonetheless, none of those things sound like something that would cause this thing after making that kind of a move. Why it's been pulling it. We'll find out, but I don't know when we're going to find out, because I was digging and digging, John. I did not find out why this thing has pulled back after that big spike. And the big spike actually made a lot of sense, but I can't put heads or tails on why this thing is really just dropping all the way back to exactly where we were basically last week.
Yeah, I don't really understand it either, Pete. I everything in my gut tells me I should be buying it on such a severe pullback, because all the news that we saw anyway was pretty darn good. But obviously, buyers and sellers meet every day in the markets, folks. And right now, selling was overcoming the buyers pretty handily.
Yeah.
All right, Pete, let's take a look at another one, Qualcomm. So up significantly. It was a $219 stock last week. It traded to almost $248 today. That's a one-day move, folks. In other words, up about 8 or 10% today, pushing towards, like I said, a new 52-week high. They got an upgrade, and they took the target, Pete, from 140, which might have been a little low, to 225. And as I just said, we've traded all the way up to 248 today. So even though this analyst from Daiwa did raise the target, might not have raised it enough.
Yeah, they're 25 points behind where this thing hit up there. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, there's a lot to this whole thing. If you go back, you look at what the earnings look like, what the revenue looked like, and all the rest of it. I mean, they're crushing it. They're doing everything that they should be. They're doing a lot of collaborations, John, in the AI space with various different players. One thing I saw that I thought was kind of interesting too was this move towards wearables, which and basically the read through was the wearables are getting to be a more and more interesting space, maybe even more so than the smartphones. So interesting to see how that thing's playing out. This stock is absolutely in fuego. We know that. I wouldn't want to fight against it, but at some point, if we start to see some puts maybe start trading in there, John, then maybe there's going to be a little bit of pullback. But until then, and most recently, we've seen more call buying in there by far than any kind of big major put buying either. So time will tell.
Yeah, it's performing magnificently, Pete, magnificently. And I would say that maybe they were listening to Mr. Musk when he said they ask him all the time, well, are you guys building a phone? And he's like, nope, this is going to be your phone. He says, it's just going to be wearables. Maybe it'll be a watch, maybe it'll be a ring or whatever. But he said, do I think people need phones to do this? I don't think so. He said, it's going to be wearables. And so take him at his word.
Yeah.
All right, one more, Pete. Intel. So Intel has been on fire. Pete used the Spanish phrase en fuego, which means on fire, of course. And this has surged, Pete. And we keep saying we had unusual activity again and again and again and again. I'll emphasize that the president owns this stock for us, for Americans, not for Nancy Pelosi's account, not for Mitch McConnell's account, for American public. He gave them almost $9 billion, Pete, and he's made a $50 billion profit on that. Warren Buffett, who? I mean, this is phenomenal. And look at that unusual. That was from the 8th. That's from Friday. And they're buying the 135s on Friday, and boom, just blows to the upside.
And you know what, John? I saw that trade. I saw that buying in there. I did not jump in there because I was thinking, you know what, that's one hell of a move. Well, maybe it is in the cards. But an unbelievable run. I mean, some of this UOA in Intel has been so telling. It's been absolutely incredible, John. They've talked about the idea of them getting together with Apple and this chip manufacturing and all the rest of it, how it could generate up to $10 billion at some point in the future. But your point, I think, is the most important one, was the government saying, hey, look, basically the president, basically saying, hey, look, we need to be involved. We're going to get involved. We're going to have an investment, 10%, not over loading things or whatever. But to your point, John, yeah, 9 billion to basically 50 billion. I would say that's going to work out pretty well for for all of us because of what the president did here, and the momentum just continues to feel like it's there. How long will it run? It'll be interesting, but certainly seeing what the unusual was indicating to us just last week and these 135s, I would say that there might still be a little bit of room left in there, John. So, you know what? Just looking at Intel, this has been a remarkable run, and I would warn people a little bit too that year to date, when a stock's up 240%, you know what? If you missed it, you missed it. Maybe you'd be a little bit of a pause on this one, but 240%, just think about that for a little while, because that is an unbelievably strong run from under $40 to where it is today. Unreal.
Yeah, well, exactly, Pete. $20 and I think 47 cents is where President Trump got us the first tranche, 433 million shares. And then he has another 5% that we can buy, Pete, as a warrant. And you can only imagine that, depending I don't know how many years out those warrants are, but the fact that you've got time on a warrant, just like an option, might mean that those are worth even a lot more. Not than the 10% stake, but it's going to be worth an awful lot.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive right into one of our favorite guys that covers sports and listen to what he's saying about a pitcher that throws over 100 miles an hour. Let's listen.
Last night, we may have witnessed the most absurd inning a starting pitcher has ever had. Because in the very first inning, Brewers starter Jacob Misiorowski against the top of the New York Yankees lineup for only 10 pitches, all of them over 102 miles an hour. He would strike out 2 of the 3 batters, and on his final pitch of the inning, he would get the best player in the world, Aaron Judge, to fly out on an 104-mile-an-hour heater. And by the way, if you like elite sports content like this, make sure you're following. And if you want more context on just how unprecedented this was, in that first inning alone, Bro threw the 5 fastest pitches a starter has ever thrown in the history of baseball. And to take it even a step further, in the history of the tracking data, Misiorowski now has 10 of the 13 fastest pitches ever thrown by a starter, with 9 of those happening last night against the Yankees. Someone needs to check if this man's arm is AI. Last night, we may have witnessed.
It is AI. Maybe it is AI.
It might be. Pete, I don't know. You always worry that if a guy's throwing that hard, he might not have the longevity. And we'll see. I mean, Nolan Ryan could throw some heat, and he was around a long time. But my gosh, this is a big, tall, young guy. And you'd love to see him pitch like that for years and years. We'll see. With a lot of the modern lifting and, everything from nutrition, Pete, to weightlifting, you got to think that there's a possibility somebody's going to be basically 100-mile-an-hour pitcher all game long.
In the sport of baseball, John, Major League Baseball, they finally, years ago now, but they finally started getting in better shape. It used to be kind of like you'd see guys out there that were pretty damn paunchy, right? I mean, let's be honest. But you don't see that now. You see these guys, and if you're in great shape, that gives you much more advantage, I think, from an injury perspective and all the rest of the things that can go along, especially something where it's a non-contact injury, something like what a pitcher would maybe go through with their elbow or whatever. If they're doing all the right things, at least they've protected themselves to give themselves a chance to be something special. That kid is special. And I say, kid, look at him. I mean, he looks like he's 14 years old, for God's sakes. And the guy's setting records in Major League Baseball. It's unbelievable. Hey, we'll start with Major League Baseball since we started right there with this video, John. So I'm going to go here. The Atlanta Braves are truly one of the great offensive teams in the league right now. They're probably the best. And I wanted to just throw this out there. I think they've got their own Fab Five, John. Remember that from Michigan basketball and all the rest of it? How about their first 5 guys? And you and I talked about this kid, Matt Olson, just the other day. But you look at some of the numbers that these guys are putting up with home runs. Matt Olson's got 14. Baldwin's got 10. Ozzy's got 8. Austin Riley's got 5. These guys are all batting, John. Remember when it was a big deal when you're batting around 300? These guys are all batting right there around 300, 296, 297, 300, 313, 331. I mean, it is unbelievable to see what these guys are doing on the offensive side. You know what? From a pitcher perspective as well, I mean, this is why Atlanta's a pretty damn good team right now, right? Probably the best in Major League Baseball for now. It's really early. It's May and all the rest of it. But this is a group of guys that are, it's literally a machine. And when they get up there to start taking their shots from the plate, John, they're the ones that are putting these things out. I mean, just take a look at how many runs that they have scored. It's an unbelievable thing to see, and really, really impressive. I mean, Matt Olson's got 36, Baldwin's got 35, Albies got 30, Riley 21, Dubin's got 18. Those are runs scored. So these guys are absolutely getting contact with the ball. They haven't gone up against that pitcher, I bet, but they're playing pretty damn good, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, you know, there are a lot of, to your point, Pete, a lot of great athletes in baseball now.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, it was a skill, and still is, to be able to hit a major league curveball or a fastball. But it seems that they have really taken the training to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen 15-year-old kids, Pete, on Instagram, you know, with a speed gun throwing close to 100. You know, if it's a question of, do you burn the kids out? But boy, they do get a lot of great instruction, rather than just, you know, kind of like, oh yeah, well, it's a big, strong kid, he can do this. And nope, now they're sitting there, you know, pulling through on a cable fly machine, Pete, and they're just working the turn and everything else. It's amazing.
It is amazing. How about the NBA though, John? I mean, I think the interesting thing for me is this: their ratings are up 20% from last year. That's pretty impressive. 3.91 million viewers. It's the best in 33 years. It's just amazing, some of the things that they're doing right now and the excitement that people have for it. It probably helps, especially when you've got the right cities, I think, for the most part. I mean, okay, you could say OKC is a small venue or whatever, but I'll tell you what, with the Knicks, with New York being a part of it, with the Lakers still in it until they're going to be out of it, probably pretty soon. But they're attracting all of this, and the viewership is absolutely amazing, right? I mean, matter of fact, the biggest one so far, John, biggest game for Detroit, Orlando, most viewed first round weeknight game for ever at 5.4 million people watching it. So there's really a lot going on, and I just figured we could hit this. In the East, yes, you've got the Knicks. The Knicks have already taken out Atlanta 4-2. They beat the Sixers. They're already up to the next level. Now they're just up there waiting, John. They beat the Sixers 4-0. And by the way, the last couple of games against the Sixers, they put up over 140 points. So they are shooting the lights out and running and gunning and doing everything that they would love to do. And wow, I'll tell you what, they are really playing some unbelievable basketball. But the Thunder, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're not so bad. They beat the Suns 4-0. They're beating the Lakers 3-0, and probably gonna, well, at least as far as the numbers are telling us, John, they're favored by 10.5 for the game against the Lakers with OKC. So it's looking more and more like we're starting to find out who's going to actually be there when it's all said and done. But OKC is playing, you know, unbelievable basketball, but so are the Knicks. This is really a lot of fun, I think, this year.
Yeah, I mean, 170 million uniques, Pete.
Yeah.
So Pete described, you know, what the ratings are, which is, you know, both accurate, best in 33 years and all that stuff. But the fact that these guys that are playing right now, Pete, are drawing 170 million unique, you know, and they can tell that, folks, from not just Nielsen ratings. Nielsen doesn't really give you that. But you know what does? Smart TVs. So most of us are watching the game on a smart TV. They can tell you every channel that you've watched on a smart TV.
Uh-oh.
I have subscribed to some of those purveyors of that data, Pete, and it's amazing. They'll tell you, okay, you want to drill down to just the people in, you know, this zip code or whatever. Their ISP, every one of those smart TVs has an ISP, an internet locator, if you will. So you know right where they are. You know what they watched before. You know what they watched after, and all that kind of stuff. The data does matter, and the NBA is pretty good at that. So
Yeah.
I know the NHL's getting better at it too, Pete. But the Kings are still football. You're right.
Yeah, yeah. Football dominates everything, but I'm happy for the NBA that they're actually getting the kind of looks that they're getting right now, John, because they were going down, 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 and here they are, starting to show a little something. And I think it has a lot to do with the players themselves, the likable players for most of these teams, and all the rest of it. And you know what? When you get the two coasts, it certainly doesn't hurt. That is a big bonus for the NBA. There's no doubt.
Yeah. And they're lucky enough, Pete, to have, like you say, the Knicks and the Celtics both, East Coast, the middle of the country, you've got OKC, Detroit, and Minnesota. And then you've only got the Lakers on the West Coast, Pete.
Yeah.
So maybe it's telling you that East Coast likes basketball more than West Coast. Well, thanks for joining us today, folks. We'll be back tomorrow with more Rebels Edge. So if you'd like to get more of that, tune in at what time?
1 p.m. Eastern, baby. We'll get it.
1 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you guys then. Bang.